It is a study in contrasts, black and white, crisp and creamy, bitter and sweet. It is the world's favorite cookie, a global icon that transcends borders, languages, and generations. The cocoa sandwich biscuit. Whether you twist it, lick it, or dunk it, this humble treat is a marvel of food engineering. Americans consume billions of them every year, but the journey of this little black and white disc is anything but simple. It is a journey that spans the globe. It begins in the soft wheat fields of the American Midwest and the tropical cocoa belts of the equator. It relies on a supply chain that moves mountains of sugar and rivers of vegetable oil. And it culminates in a factory process that balances thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, and high-speed robotics. How do you turn a bitter tropical bean into a dark, sweet wafer? How do you engineer a filling that stays solid at room temperature but melts instantly on the tongue? And how do you bake 10 million cookies a day without burning a single one? From the harvest to the dunk, this is the mega process of the cocoa sandwich. Our story begins in the heartland of America. While bread requires hard wheat with high protein for elasticity, a cookie demands tenderness. We are in Ohio, looking for a specific grass, soft red winter wheat. This grain is the skeleton of the biscuit. Unlike the spring wheat used for pizza dough, soft red winter wheat has a low protein content, typically around 8 to 9%. Why does this matter? Protein forms gluten. In a cookie, we want to inhibit gluten development. We want a short dough, one that snaps and crumbles rather than stretches. If we used bread flour, our sandwich cookie would be tough and chewy, like a bagel. The farmer harvests this crop with precision, monitoring moisture levels to ensure the starch structure remains intact. But flour is just the canvas. The paint, the soul of this cookie, comes from the tropics. We travel 4,000 miles to the cacao belt, 20 degrees north and south of the equator. Here grows Theobroma cacao, the food of the gods. The distinct, dark color of the sandwich biscuit comes from the cacao bean. But not just any cocoa. The beans are harvested by hand, the pods cracked open to reveal the seeds nestled in sweet pulp. Fermentation is the first critical step. The beans rot, controlled rotting, in wooden boxes for days. This kills the germ and triggers chemical reactions that create the precursors of chocolate flavor. But for our specific cookie, we need something more intense. The raw cocoa is bitter and acidic. To create the signature midnight black color and the unique, mellow flavor of the sandwich biscuit, the cocoa undergoes a 19th century chemical process known as Dutching or alkalization. The cocoa nibs are treated with an alkaline solution, typically potassium carbonate. This neutralizes the natural acidity of the bean. As the pH rises, the color darkens dramatically, shifting from reddish-brown to a deep charcoal black. This black cocoa is what gives the cookie its iconic look and its savory, bittersweet profile. Without Dutching, the cookie would be light brown and taste like a standard brownie. To balance the bitterness of the black cocoa, we need sugar, massive amounts of it. Sucrose, refined from sugar cane or sugar beets, provides the crystalline crunch. But the ingredient that transforms these powders into a dough is fat. In the past, lard was the standard. Today, the industry relies on vegetable oils, palm, soybean, or canola. The fat must be solid at room temperature but melt at body temperature. This is crucial for the cream filling. If the melting point is too low, the sandwich slides apart in the summer. If it's too high, the filling feels like wax in your mouth. Food scientists engineer specific fat blends to achieve that perfect plasticity. Finally, the bridge between the bitter cookie and the sweet filling. Vanilla. Whether natural extract from the orchids of Madagascar or high-quality synthesized vanillin, this aromatic compound provides the nostalgic scent that hits you the moment you open the package. All these global ingredients converge at the mega factory. This facility operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is a cathedral of consumption. Flour and sugar arrive by rail, pumped through pneumatic tubes into silos that hold 100,000 pounds each. Vegetable oil arrives in heated tanker trucks to keep it flowing. Cocoa powder arrives in 1-ton super sacks. The logistics are a tightrope walk. A delay in the cocoa shipment from West Africa or a bad wheat harvest in Ohio can shut down the entire line. The factory relies on just-in-time delivery, keeping only a few days' worth of raw materials on hand to ensure freshness. We enter the mixing room. Here, the recipe is executed by automated computers. The goal is to create a dough that is stiff, dry, and vividly black. Flour, black cocoa, sugar, oil, and leavening, Gents are metered into the mixer. Water is added sparingly. Unlike bread dough, which is needed to develop gluten, this dough is mixed gently. We are avoiding gluten development. The mixer runs for only a few minutes. The result is not a smooth ball, but a crumbly, sandy mixture. It looks almost too dry to bake. This texture is vital for the crisp snap of the final cookie. The crumbly dough is fed into the rotary molder. This machine is the heart of the aesthetic. It consists of a large, spinning die cylinder made of brass or bronze, engraved with the cookie's famous pattern. A forcing roll pushes the black crumbs into the engraved cavities. A scraper knife shears off the excess, leaving the dough perfectly flush with the mold. Then the magic of adhesion takes over. A cotton canvas belt presses against the dough in the mold. The dough sticks to the canvas more than the brass, peeling the formed cookie out of the die. Thousands of raw, embossed discs emerge every minute, marching in perfect formation. The cookies enter the tunnel oven. This is a 300-foot-long beast, divided into multiple heating zones. It is a gas-fired inferno. Zone 1 hits the cookies with high heat to set the structure and activate the baking soda. This gives the cookie its slight puff. Zone 2 provides steady heat to dry out the moisture. Because the dough is black, we cannot rely on color change to judge doneness. Sensors monitor the moisture content. The cookie must be dried down to less than 3% moisture. If it's too wet, it will soften the cream filling later. If it's too dry, it will shatter during assembly. The cookies exit the oven. Surprisingly, they are soft and pliable when hot. They must travel over a long cooling conveyor, allowing the sugars to recrystallize and the fat to set. This turns the soft disc into a crisp, brittle wafer. While the wafers cool, the cream is prepared. Note the spelling. C-R-E-M-E, there is no dairy cream in this filling. It is a fondant-like mixture of sugar, vegetable shortening, vanilla, and lecithin. The ingredients are whipped at high speed. The goal is aeration. Tiny bubbles of air are trapped in the fat-sugar matrix. This turns a heavy, greasy paste into a light, melting cloud. The specific density is strictly controlled. Too much air and the consumer gets cheated. Too little and the filling is hard and waxy. This is the crescendo of the factory floor, the sandwiching machine. The stream of cooled wafers is split. Half remain bottoms and half are flipped over to become tops. The bottom wafers pass under a rotary depositor. A nozzle shoots a precise puck of white cream onto the center of the black biscuit. The viscosity must be perfect, stiff enough to hold its shape, but soft enough to adhere. Milliseconds later, the top wafer is dropped onto the cream. A gentle mechanical press secures the bond, spreading the cream just to the edge of the rim, but never over it. The friction of the depositor warms the cream. If we packaged them now, the wafers would slide off. The sandwiches travel through a cooling tunnel. Chilled air blasts the cookies, re-solidifying the fat in the filling. The cream acts as the glue, locking the two wafers together into a single structural unit. The finished cookies are grouped into slugs. Optical cameras scan every single one. If a wafer is cracked or the cream is off-center, a jet of air blasts the defective cookie off the line. The rejects are not wasted. They are ground up and sold as cookie crumble toppings for ice cream. The perfect slugs are gently loaded into plastic trays. The flow wrapper seals them in foil to protect against moisture and humidity, the archenemies of the crisp wafer. Robotic arms stack the cases onto pallets. They are shrink-wrapped and rushed to the distribution center. It is a process of incredible speed and exacting standards. From the humble wheat field to the high-speed robotics of the packaging line, the cocoa sandwich biscuit is a triumph of consistency. It brings together the flavors of the equator and the harvest of the plains to create a simple, black and white treat that brings joy to billions. Inside the biscuit plant, the perfect balance of bitter and sweet is engineered, one sandwich at a time.